What it do? It's been a while. You know who it is? Javier Starks, aka J Starks, baby. You know me. The One Wheel Wing, baby. Your friendly neighborhood one wheeler here at Electrify Expo, surrounded by electric vehicles and good vibes. Actually here to talk about a subject that's been coming up a lot recently. Is one wheel ready to be considered an official sport? What needs to happen before one wheel reaches a place where it can be considered an official sport? Let's get into it. So the first thing that people mentioned to me, because I asked a whole bunch of people this question and people are asking me, the first thing and the thing that kept popping up, safety. One wheelers get injured, one wheels get broken, etc. But people always blame the equipment. Sometimes, you know, people will take responsibility for their crashes, but often people blame the equipment. The question I ask you, is that something that manufacturers could change? Is that something that Future Motion could do something about? Or what about the people who are adding third-party parts and different things like, you know, changing the way the footpad functions, like posi tapping and stuff like that? The stuff like that, you know? I mean, that's the first thing. Second thing that someone mentioned that was important was leveling the playing field. So when it comes to one-wheel racing, there are a lot of things that come into play that are really important factors that make things, you know, kind of difficult when it comes to racing and it being fair. Simple things such as class systems when it comes to racing. Like if a 15-year-old who weighs 120 pounds is big enough to be in the men's league, but at the same time another person who's competing in the men's league is a 30-year-old who weighs 190 pounds, assuming they have the same level of skill, one-wheel riders will know off break who will have the advantage. That goes without being said. So someone was saying that, yo, in order for this to be considered an official sport, those things need to be addressed. Like, there has to be a system in place. Weight, just like other things like boxing or other competitive sports where weight and the size of the competitor makes a difference, it's a factor. Next up, equipment. Things like VESC versus stock. When a person has a VESC board and they can hit 30, 40 miles an hour compared to someone who's riding a stock board per se, and it's pretty much capped for the most part. Most people will struggle to get past 20, 25-ish miles an hour. How is that handled? Someone mentioned that makes keeping things fair difficult. Something to be considered. Like for most people who are in racing leagues, they have 50cc, 100cc. That's something that people who even play Mario Kart would be familiar with. It makes a difference because if someone who is driving a vehicle that can go 3 times faster than yours, I mean, hey man, you know, like. The next thing that someone mentioned was the enforcing of rules and what are the, you know, what's the system for enforcing rules during races. They mentioned that there have been times in races where someone may have pushed somebody or grabbed onto a pole or stuff like that, but there were no like repercussions, no penalties in terms of time. Like that type of stuff is all factored in when it comes to like actual sports that involve racing. When someone goes outside of a line or when someone goes outside of a cone or a flag, they lose seconds on their overall time. So, you know, those are things that should be factored in, is what people have been saying. You know, let's keep going down the line. The next thing someone mentioned was that we need to move away from the feel of things being pay to win. And what they said was like the idea of tail rails per se. Let's say if you're competing against someone who has flat rails and it's a very hilly course, like up and down, the person with tail rails obviously is gonna have an advantage when it comes to just basic stance because the tail allows more clearance. So going down hills for that person on tail rails will be easier. This is their argument, their thoughts. And yeah, I agree with that to an extent. while it is a choice, at the same time, not everybody has access to those things. And that's what's part of what makes, I don't know. That's next one is something that actually hits home that someone else mentioned, was that in all sports, athletes have stats. They have statistics. You can tell how many home runs that Babe Ruth hit. You can tell, how many steals LeBron James has. You can tell how many three-pointers Steph Curry has. These stats are documented and tracked. That's what keeps it all official. So when someone goes out there like Michael Jordan and does some incredible things, it's documented. Right now, Onewheel doesn't have anything like that. And I actually talked to them about this back in 2021. I was like, yo, the leaderboard system needs some sort of like checks and balances, because we've had instances multiple times, documented times, of people getting caught cheating on leaderboard. And it's important. Someone like myself who's ridden the device more than anyone else on the planet, period, over 40,000 miles, it feels weird knowing that someone could just be sitting at home on a computer and hack these numbers. And while that doesn't sound feasible, check this out.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm a bit of a tech enthusiast, and today I brought along a little toy to show you. On the topic of the Onewheel leaderboard, I thought this would be a good way to demonstrate it. There's a lot of reasons you can get around the leaderboard. A lot of ways you can do it with software. A lot of ways you can hack the app or just the REST protocol it's built on. But I wanted to try to demonstrate something different. People talk a lot about how you could secure the app, how you can conceal the board, how you can conceal the web. Well, I wanted to show that maybe none of that's sufficient. This is the world's smallest Onewheel. I plug it in, and now, at least to the Onewheel app, this thing is a board. It has a serial number, has a charge, has battery. There it is right here. I chose a serial number that was in use at one point, not right now.
Okay.
This is all made up. The odometer's made up. It's riding right now. Right now we're going about 15 miles an hour. We got up to 70.9. It's delivering all the stats, the temperature. It gives you the tilt of the wheel. It's all behaving like a real wheel. I take brakes on this thing. I could just leave it on my nightstand, and I'm riding all night.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, if I want to take over the leaderboard, and I thought about it a little bit, I'm not going to do it.
Thank you.
But I respect your record. But
I appreciate it.
But on the topic of how would you do it? This is one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad way.
Right. Okay. And can you put that in my hand just to show the size comparison?
Oh yeah, you want the cord or no cord?
That is crazy with this thing. And you mentioned that you could set it up so you could have it programmed that you ride a certain amount of miles a day, or it could just push you straight to the top. Which is what we've seen in the past with some situations. That's
right. I have some old boards with old serial numbers. They haven't been ridden in years, so it's very easy for me to clone those boards and then just give them a new odometer reading, and it's like, well, I've just been riding the past 3 years nonstop.
Wow.
The app has no way to know I didn't do that.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Myself have, over the course of time as a rider, encountered at least 3 people who are cheating on leaderboard. Even now, the last person, I'll show you the screenshot. Over 20,000 miles in a year, which, hey man, maybe that's possible. But for me, I understand that if you're out riding 20,000 miles in a year, you're gonna be known by some people. I don't know anyone who's gonna go out and ride 20,000 miles in a year by themselves and not know anyone in the community. So for someone to have done that and nobody know who this person is, nobody ever seen this person, sketchy, bro. Like, it's just sketchy. And that's not the first time I met someone who's like, yeah man, I've ridden 50,000 miles. But the crazy thing is, like whenever I meet people who say those kinds of things, they're always like decent riders at best. Like they don't have big tricks. They don't have like incredible riding skills. They're not known for doing huge drops. They're not like super with balance. And so, and that's always crazy to me, because it's like anybody who knows me knows that like I've probably done bigger drops than 90% of the people who ride one wheel in the world. 6 foot is my biggest drop, and I could probably go higher, but most people haven't done 6 feet. Most people have, anyways. So that's definitely something that needs to be regulated. And to the person who is ridden 20,000 miles in the past year, man, I challenge you to a ride-off, and I'd be willing to put money up for this. And I'm sure other riders would be willing to match me, since you've got 38,000 miles on your XR now. You should be pretty freaking good. Like, you got to be amazing at that point. And yeah, love to challenge you to a ride-off. Different categories: tricks, drops, skill, like technique, like weaving, high speed, low speed, balance beam, like riding on things. Let's do it. Since you're so good and clearly have ridden so many miles, let's do it. Yeah. What another rider was saying to me was that, like, yo, miles aren't just like random numbers in a app. Like, to riders who ride one wheel specifically, miles are a badge of honor. Like, every mile means something. So when you meet someone and you're both like, yeah, we hit 1,000 miles, you get that connection is undeniable. You understand where that other rider is in their journey, and you can relate to them. So to have someone just sitting at home fabricating miles, like, and it not be regulated, man, that's harsh to the people who are out there. Like Dustin, he goes hard. This man's like actually riding. You could go to his Instagram and see his journeys documented. Like, in the system it's there. Just can't have unregulated miles and be like, you can't have it be unregulated and people walk around claiming that they're done it more. Like, anyone who knows me knows I ride. All my rides have been documented. A lot of them are still tracked in the app. And hey, man, if you ever doubt it, come test me, bro. Last, and certainly not least for this video, the last thing that people kept mentioning was community inclusion from the company. So input from members of the community. So when they had the Rider Summit, or when they have Race for the Rail, these things are always structured in a way that's not always the most accessible to the general public, is what many people have said. And you know, that is pretty important. You know, when you feel like you have a device and you feel like it won't get fixed, or you don't have any support, it's kind of hard to build anything like really stable around that. Yeah, man, there's lots of people, and I'm open to more and more. I mean, I've been taking suggestions for weeks about this, and love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. I got videos from other people who shared their thoughts and wanted to have their input, but I figured maybe the first one would just be simple and to the point. And yeah, man, I have faith that one day it will get to a point where it's legit, like across the boards, people can look at our sport and be like, yeah, they got it together. They got their stat system. They got freaking regulation for riders. They got rules for engagement during the races so that people don't get hurt. And like, I feel like it will get there one day. But right now, I don't think it's quite there yet. And based on what I've been asking people and the feedback, that a lot of people agree. While one wheel is something that we love, and it's something that like brings me endless joy. I can't even tell you how many hours I've ridden my one wheel, you know, and how in love I am with my one wheel, all of my one wheels. But yeah, there's some things that need to change and need to shift for us to take it to the next level. So anyways, I'm letting y'all go. I ain't want to keep this video too long. Take it easy. Peace.